Welcome everyone to our monthly council meeting. I ask everyone to be upstanding for our opening prayer. Almighty God, we ask that you be present at this meeting to assist us in our service to the community through local government. We pray that our decisions will be wise and taken with goodwill and clear conscience. Amen. Councillor and officer presence at the meeting. We have all councillors in attendance. We have our Chief Executive Officer, Director of Infrastructure and Environment, Director of Community and Planning, and Director of Corporate and Organisational Development. So a full team in today. Item 3, apologies and granting of leave of absence. I don't believe there's anything there. Disclosures of conflict of interest. Anyone have any conflicts on any items?
Mr Mayor, I have a conflict in item 9.6.
You will.
Mr Mayor, I have a conflict in item 9.6.
As right.
Right. We'll be winding down the room a little bit anyway. We'll continue on. Thank you. Item 5, confirmation of minutes. So our ordinary council meeting held on the 29th of January 2025. Recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion on those minutes? Councillor Tolsha.
That the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on 29th of January be confirmed.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. We'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Petitions and joint letters? Nil. Item 7's public question time. I believe we have a couple of questions. I'll call on our CEO.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Councillors, we do have 2 public question time submissions today. One from Mr Matthew Spurgeon. Mr Spurgeon is not present today, so our officers will respond to his questions after the meeting. The second public question time submission is from Mrs Catherine Ross in relation to the maintenance of the Corryong to Clack Clack bike track. There are a number of sections of the track that have been identified as requiring maintenance and some photos that have also been attached. And I might just ask that our Director of Infrastructure and Environment respond to those questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kathy, just so you're aware, we've just been approved for our flood funding, so that will assist in some works on that track in the areas that you've identified. Also, myself and my team leader will go for a drive down that track and see what we can tidy up in certain areas where we've put in additional drainage culverts and those sort of things to alleviate the flood issues into the future. So we'll do that in the next couple of weeks and make sure it's done prior to the festival and Easter period. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Item 8, informal meeting of councillors and workshop meeting records for the 15th of January and the 29th of January. Any questions on any of that? We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion?
Mr Mayor,
Councillor Pittman.
I'd like to recommend that the information be noted.
The information be noted. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. All those in favour? Carried. 9's organisational improvement. 9.1's the action sheet reports. Are we take as read? Any questions of clarification? Pretty. Again, we have recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move motion?
Councillor Anderson.
Councillor Anderson. Sorry, I just looked down at the wrong time.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Again, we'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. 9.2, the Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, Planning and Environment Act 1987. I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, the purpose of this report is to update Council's instrument of appointment and authorisation to ensure that we have staff that are adequately authorised to carry out planning, administration, support and enforcement. And the recommendation is as presented.
Thanks very much. Any questions or clarification on that report? No. We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move the motion?
Well, someone's got it, yeah.
Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. All those in favour?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor.
Oh,
Could I
you
just
want to
speak
speak
to
to
it?
it? Yeah, sorry. I was thinking that was going to be a non-rightio. Anyone like to speak to that? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I just see in the report that Council utilises Maddix, which is a legal firm in Melbourne, and to make sure that we are comprehensive, compliant with legislative requirements, which is great. And I just note that this allows Council's capability to address planning and enforcement issues moving forward, which is very important. So, yeah, well done.
Yep.
Thank you.
Councillor Pittman.
Yeah, look, I was very impressed with how comprehensive that report was, and it was certainly enlightening to see. I would think that there would be very little that could possibly happen that haven't had covered. So, yeah, once again, very impressed with the detail in that report.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? None against? Carried. (9.3) Quarterly Budget Report. Again, we'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to present the quarterly budget report as required by the Local Government Act. So the appendix shows the detailed profit and loss for the year to date as at 31 December. That demonstrates that we have a half-year surplus of $13.2 million. However, that is recognising that we have almost 100% of our revenue that was budgeted for, we have already received or recognised, and that we have only incurred half a year's worth of expenses. We are on track that by the end of the year, our operating result will be within the adopted budget. And for that reason, it's noted that we do not believe that a revised budget is required. And the recommendation is as presented.
Very good, thank you. Any questions or clarification, councillors? Councillor Tolsha.
Just like to say, well done with the budget, saying it doesn't need that to be reviewed and reset, because a lot of foresight goes into that, and you've done a good job. Well done.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Do I have any other questions? Well, got the recommendation. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Tolsha.
The report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman.
Sorry, I've just given a revised recommendation.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah, that it also include point 2.
Also point 2.
Yeah.
Be noted that the Chief Executive Officer has advised that a revised budget is not required.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. And the seconder? Councillor Wortman. Councillor Tolsha, do you like to speak to that at all?
No.
Councillor Wortman.
So, yep.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I just note in the report that we are in a very strong financial position, but there is always a but. We are going to run a deficit, and as we know, when you run a deficit, you run down your cash. So yeah, it's something to take note of. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? None against? Carried. (9.4). The instrument of delegations, council to members of council staff, and I'll call on our Director of Corporate Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the Local Government Act 2020 provides all councils with the ability to delegate various elements of its powers, duties and functions to its staff. These delegations are formally recorded in the document Section 6, Instrument of Delegation from Council to Members of Council Staff. And the purpose of this report is to update that instrument of delegation from Council to members of Council staff to take into account legislative changes which were assented to or made between January 2024 and January 2025. And the recommendation is as presented.
Any questions or clarification on that report? I'll ask for someone to move a motion. Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to that motion at all?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just that, once again, it's through Maddox. So, well done. It's another extensive report. So well done. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Councillor Pittman. Anyone else speak to or against the report or the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 9.5, Corporate and Organisational Development Report. And again, we'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide an update on the activities within the Corporate and Organisational Development team between October and December 2024. So during that time we had council elections, and obviously that's facilitated by the Victorian Electoral Commission. However, following the elections, in the process of carrying out the elections, council had a support role to play in that, and following the elections there was the swearing in and commencement of induction for all of our elected representatives. So that was quite a bit of a focus for the team. We also have continued to progress our risk management framework and provided OH&S and risk management training to the councils as part of the induction process. And we had an all-staff day in December, which allowed us the opportunity for us all to get together and promote that cross-organisational communication and relationships, relationship building. And it was very well received today by the staff. So the recommendation is that the report be noted.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Not so much a question, but just a comment. There's a lot happening in this space, and I really congratulate the staff and the director. Just like to make note of the long-term financial plan software that we've acquired. I think it'll be very important in planning our new council plan into the future. Thank you.
Is there any other questions or clarification? Got the recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Tolsha.
That the report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. The seconder? Councillor Pittman. Anything, would you like to speak to that, Councillor Tolsha?
No.
Councillor Pittman?
Yeah, pretty much echoing the words of the previous councillor about the the importance of having these days where people get together and feeling a bit lost for words. We're just getting the whole team together to celebrate each other and creating better networks. I think it helps people get to know each other better and breaks down some of those invisible barriers that can sometimes be perceived in an organisation. I think that's a really healthy way to achieve that. You know, I've had a look at the emergency trailers and things. I think they're a terrific asset. Yeah, and then good work. Thank you. Keep it up.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? Or against? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 9.6, Chief Executive Officer leave request, and I believe we might have a couple of conflicts happening here.
Leave the room.
So the purpose of this report is to seek approval for the Chief Executive Officer to take annual leave over the period specified in this report and to appoint an acting Chief Executive Officer for the period. So for the period of 3rd of March to the 16th of March 2025, Mr Mark Florence, Director of Community and Planning, be appointed to the role of acting Chief Executive Officer, and for the period of 17th of March to the 28th of March, Ms Narelle Taylor, Director of Corporate and Organisational Development, be appointed to the role of Acting Chief Executive Officer. I think this is a good way of being able to look at succession planning and give people the opportunity to step up into that role. And the recommendations there in front of you, which really is just what I've been speaking about with the leave, and who would take over the acting CEO positions. Is there any questions or clarification on that report? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Tolsha. Councillor Anderson, would you like to speak to it all? Councillor Tolsha.
I'd just like to say, I think the succession planning is a great opportunity for both incoming interim CEOs. I also think that it's great that our CEO and us as a group have the confidence that the two can fulfil that role and do an extremely good job. So I'm really happy with it.
Yep. Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. And we'll get our directors and CEO back in for item number 9.7. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
So 9.7 is our risk and OHS bi-monthly report, and our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development's getting a fair workout this morning.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to provide an update on Council's risk and OH&S strategy, performance, activities and key initiatives for the reporting period. So the attached detailed report does contain confidential information, so that has been circulated to councillors prior to the meeting, but it summarises our any high potential incidents or near misses that have occurred during the reporting period, that documents the causes, recommended controls and the progress of developing and implementing those controls to date. It provides an update on closeout of major hazards that we've identified and a summary of the major projects that are underway. So the recommendation is that the report be noted.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification? Councillor Wortman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just more of a comment. I'd just like to thank the Director and especially her Manager, Lauren Murray, briefing recently in a workshop, and it was a comprehensive briefing, and I'm very pleased with the amount of work that's happening in this space, so well done to the Director and her staff.
Thank you.
Councillor Culture.
Sorry, I'd just like to say the risk management framework, getting that on board and bringing it up and developing it into drafts has been a really good, positive move forward. And I think the quicker we get that in and get it activated, we'll be better for it.
Any questions or clarification? Someone like to move a motion? Councillor Pittman.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I'd like to recommend that the risk and this bi-monthly report be noted.
Thanks, Councillor Pittman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Pittman, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, Mr Mayor, I concur with the comments of previous councillors that an excellent job and great progress is being made in this area, and the full confidence with the staff that are dealing with this. Most impressive. Thank you.
Councillor Anderson.
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else like to speak to the motion? No. I'd like to probably add, and it's very similar. Been on council for a few years now, and I feel more confident in this space than I have previously, and so I think that's a really good thing that progress is happening. So thank you very much. If there's nothing further, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? None against? Carried. (9.8).
You've got a statue there.
The CNC loan report, and I'll call on our Director of Corporate and Organisational Development.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval from Council for a variation to the CNC loan with Bank WAW to interest only for a period of 6 months. So the CNC is currently facing some significant financial challenges, and they've requested our support to approach Bank WAW to seek a period of 6 months to reduce the loan repayments to interest only. In terms of forming the recommendation, I guess we took into account the social sustainability implications as well as the financial sustainability of the council. So I guess the value of the social enterprise of social enterprises such as the CNC are difficult to quantify, but there is little doubt that it provides a valuable service to the Upper Murray community. Providing approval for the CNC to seek a variation to the loan repayments will not significantly increase the financial liability to which council is exposed if the CNC do default on the loan. Conversely, if the CNC can take the interest-only period of 6 months and reorganise their finances and continue to repay the loan in full, then this will significantly decrease our financial exposure. So on the balance, it is recommended to approve the CNC to seek a variation to the loan repayments. So the recommendation is as presented.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification on that report?
Yeah, through you, Mr Mayor. I think, I feel the CNC's contributed a lot to our community over the years it's been going. I think it's very important for all of us that it continues to function in the way it does, with the hope that a bit of restructuring, that they can trade their way out of their current difficulties and continue on. And hopefully by approving this recommendation, that will allow that to happen.
If there's no further questions, we'll got a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Pittman. Move that.
My apologies. Mr Mayor, I'd like to move that the council approve the variation of their CNC loan to the Bank of WAW to the interest only for the period of 6 months.
And a seconder? Councillor Wardman. Councillor Pittman, did you want to speak to that anymore?
I have nothing further to say.
Councillor Wardman,
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
just tap your button.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Totally agree with Councillor Pittman's comments. Everyone around the table here realises the great work they do for the community up here, and we just hope that this 6-month period will help them get through this difficult financial situation.
Thanks, Councillor Warburton. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. I believe that may give our director a rest and can sit back down for a minute. 10's community and wellbeing. We'll call out our, so 10.1's culture and inclusion and Tallangatta Neighbourhood House report, and we'll call on our Director of Community and Planning.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. This report is the first under a new structure within the Department of Community and Planning, where we've introduced the Culture and Inclusion Unit, which includes service areas of arts, LGBTQI+, youth, and our reconciliation action activities as well. And beside that, we also have the report that details the activities of the Tallangatta Neighbourhood House. Pleased to say that each of those areas have had some significant work over the reporting period, and particularly want to focus on the Neighbourhood House in Tallangatta with the continued list of outstanding activities that are really supporting the Tallangatta community. So the recommendation is as presented to you.
Thanks very much. Any questions or clarification on the report? We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move motion? Councillor Pittman.
I'd like to report that note that the report be noted, recommend the report be noted. How's that?
Close. You're probably going to move that the
I'll move that the report be
motion-
noted.
The report be noted. That's perfect. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wortman. Councillor Pittman, would you like to speak to that at all? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to agree totally with what the Director said about the Neighbourhood House and the restructure. We had a comprehensive update at our last workshop, and it's pretty exciting what's going to happen in the future. And just on the Neighbourhood House, it benefits the Tallangatta community, but it also benefits the surrounding Tallangatta community, and it's very important. So well done.
Would anyone else like to? Councillor Tolsha.
Sorry. Just a bit of feedback about the Tallangatta Neighbourhood House and Catherine Lanigan. What a great job she's doing. The feedback I get from everybody is she does a wonderful job. Everyone's happy with what's happening, and it's very, very good. And I can only see it going from strength to strength with the other inclusions. So well done.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? None against? Carry.
It's your turn.
Grant application. Living Libraries Infrastructure Program.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The state government's had a long-standing funding program called Living Libraries, which is used for local governments to access funds to either renovate or conduct major infrastructure renovations and construction of new facilities in the library space, recognising that libraries for generations has been a really terrific asset for communities. There is an opportunity in the Corrion Library to undertake an internal renovation and to create some greater working space, improve the visibility, the opportunities for various groups to participate in a refreshed library. So the Living Libraries Fund is a perfect avenue. It's also positive that it doesn't require any council contribution, which is a positive always. And so we are asking Council to approve a grant application be submitted. I note that and ask for a change to the recommendation to move from the minor category to the major category of the grant, which will mean a change that says up to a maximum grant of $250,000. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Any questions or clarification on that report, councillors? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Pittman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that the recommendation be accepted that the Chief Executive Officer be authorised to submit an application to the Living Libraries Infrastructure Fund going to the larger amount of $250,000 for the Corrigan Library renovation project.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Pittman, would you like to speak to the motion at all?
Nothing further to say.
Councillor Pittman? Councillor Pittman, we've just done Councillor Anderson, no. Councillor Waltman?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Totally agree again with the Director. Library spaces are valued within our communities, and I've got to be honest, the Corrigan Library is a bit tired, and I think the community and the staff will appreciate the renovation. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to the motion? No, we'll put the motion. All those in favour? We don't have any against. Carried. 10.3, Resilient Buildings Project Tender Evaluation.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A very exciting occasion today to finally bring to Council for a decision to award a contract that has been a long time in the making. And with the decision today, hopefully we'll push the button for a really strong legacy project for the community in the aftermath of the bushfires in 2019-2020. For a whole range of different reasons, it's probably longer than we anticipated, but COVID probably got in the way of that as well. But also, I think what is highlighted is the level of community consultation and the work that was done with each of the facility management within the community to understand what the particular needs were in supporting their resilience in the event of another emergency event. And with all that work and the input of the community and the input of council in prioritising the various facilities, and then also understanding the scope of the equipment and infrastructure that was going to be presented. So whether that be solar panels, batteries, water tanks, communication devices, I think it's a project that council can be quite proud of, and to get to this point now, to award it to a very creditable and organisation with a strong reputation in this space is a perfect alignment, I think, in the aspirations that council have held. So with great pleasure, present the recommendation to council as presented to award the contract to Indigo Power.
Thank you very much. Any questions or clarification? We have the recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Waltman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Waltman. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Waltman, I'm sure you'd like to speak to this one.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would. I thank the Director on that comprehensive wrap-up of it there. Look, I've been on council a long time, and I've got to say this is the most pleasing and important projects that I can remember. We all know these little halls and little facilities throughout our shire, they all struggle to survive, and these upgrades, especially the solar and batteries, as we know in this cost of living pressure we're under at the moment, that it will make their sustainability much greater. And look, and I must thank the staff. This is because we're upgrading facilities in all our communities, and the staff have been unbelievable to get across and talk to the communities of management. And like I say, it's such an exciting project, and I'm so pleased that it's coming to fruition. And I thank the director.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Wortman. Councillor Anderson?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I concur with Councillor Waltman, absolutely. But the best part about it all is that it's a fantastic project which will help our community support themselves if we have another emergency, which is really the crux of it all. So thank you to everyone who's worked on this. We've all worked pretty hard on this, so it's really fantastic to see it over the line.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Would anyone else like to speak to the motion? No. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? None against? Carried. Very exciting. Asset management. 11.1 is the asset management report. We'll call on our Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The purpose of the report is to provide information. It's a quarterly report from the asset team for the management activities of assets across the Shire. The Asset Inspection Officer has continued doing reactive and scheduled inspections. A few things to note in that is a total of 14.6 kilometres of footpath have been inspected, 1,250 kilometres of road network, with 313 of this at night for the quarter. So that's quite a large inspection regime there. Stabilisation works, 25,670 metres squared of Council's Road have been identified of high risk and required stabilisation works. The annual reseal program will commence at the start of March. This will include about 15.8 kilometres of roads to be resealed. A couple of bridges have been underway or in the planning stage, and that is the Spring Creek, sorry, hang on, I've just got to get back to where I was, I've lost that. Construction underway of Lake Road culverts. Now these are about 35% complete, and we're also looking at running Spring Creek Road in construction to commence in late March. Just noting that that road will need to be closed while that happens, but Lake Road section will be reopened via then, and it already currently is allowing traffic through. DRFA funding has come through and recently been approved for 2.2 mil, so that's good news. A list of the priority works have been prepared and let out to the contractor for the West End, so that's underway currently, they've started that. And 100% of the priority list works have been now completed. New playground has been constructed in Walwa, which led to an outstanding result and had extensive community consultation. And that's it for the report to be noted. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or clarification on that? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just like to thank the Director for that comprehensive report. Look, just have to thank our staff, the amount of work that's going on in this space. It's fantastic, and you know, I travel around the Shire and I get feedback from ratepayers, and they're very pleased to see it happening. Just on the DRFA funding, look, I'm going to have a bit of a whinge here. Those floods occurred in 2022, and now we're just receiving the compensation or the insurance claim. And look, we hear it from all other councils. They've got to speed this up, and they've got to improve how it is assessed. And the thing being, and it was brought up here earlier, about roads or infrastructure gets damaged, and then we can't make a claim, and we have to leave it, and then we have other events that occur, and it makes the damage even worse. And then, but because we put in a claim previously, we can't get the full claim, and council's got to carry that, and ratepayers ultimately pay for it. And yeah, we've just got to keep advocating to improve this DRFA, how it is managed and carried out. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Waltman. Any other questions or clarification? Councillor Tolsha?
So just to add to what Councillor Waltman said, that also looks bad on us as a council, and really we can't control that, and the ratepayers don't understand that process. So I don't know if there's an opportunity down the track, if we can't get the funding quicker, that we actually say that we have applied and that this is the time frame, just to give a bit of information back to the ratepayer, so it's not us that is actually the process.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Any other questions, clarification? We have a recommendation in front of us. Would someone like to move motion? Councillor Tolsha.
That the recommendation be,
That the report,
that the report be noted. Sorry.
moving a motion that the report be noted.
Are we approving a motion that the report be noted?
Thank you, Councillor Tolsha.
Sorry.
And do I have a seconder? Councillor Waltman. Anything else to add, Councillor Tolsha or Councillor?
Just a quick one. I've just got to say to our director, well done, Jamie. I know coming in and understanding everything, you've come along with leaps and bounds with everything that's been happening, and your knowledge is unmountable. It's really good.
Thank you. Councillor Waltman. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Land use planning. There are no land use planning reports to present this month. Item 13 is environmental sustainability. No reports to present at this meeting. Item 14, there are no economic and tourism development reports to present this meeting. 15, councillor reports. There's heaps of them. Well, a few. No, I'm getting there. So we'll start with Councillor Tolsha. And Australia Day, did you want to speak to that at all, Councillor Tolsha?
I'm just a big fan of Australia Day. That's just me personally, and I think the day we had was very well run, very well organised, lovely breakfast, and the usual great speakers with Graham Sayers, who was a Rotary Club president, national president, and also Honourable Bill Tilley, who I had a really good conversation with. And the usual people, Jock Havana with his poems, which is a really, really good thing, but went very well. Fully supportive.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Would you like to move that?
Yeah, I can move.
That-
I can move the report be noted.
And a seconder? Councillor Pittman. All those in favour? Carried. Councillor Tolsha again on Road Safe North East.
I just think it's a great group to be part of, and they were talking about people teaching learner drivers, and there is courses available for people, and if anyone's interested, we could somehow arrange a group. If there's interested people in the Upper Murray, they might get 5 or 6 people to attend to a course, and they do it for nothing, so it's just really good for people with kids that want to train and teach their kids properly. That's all.
Thanks. Councillor Tolsha. Do you want
Recommend that the report be noted.
to, and a seconder? Councillor Anderson. All in favour? Carried. 15.3 is Dartmouth Progress Association, and Councillor Tolsha again.
Again, went to the Dartmouth one. A really, really good group to actually sit down, very professional. A few things there. They wanted support on a letter from council for their pondage master plan. They had a little bit of trouble logging onto our systems. I spoke to Jamie, and Jamie has arranged the new process, which is really good. But again, I'll probably do Estale Emitter too. So probably going to do up there. Not every month, but I reckon every quarter. If I did it every month, there's 9 of them.
They get sick of seeing you.
Yeah, they will. So, that too. Either every quarter or every third, fourth month. But yeah, very good. I enjoyed it. Late night trip home about 11 o'clock at night. Dodged a few deer and kangaroos and wombats and yeah, good. And also I want to recommend that the report be noted.
And do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Anderson. We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 15.4's advocacy meeting, Albury Wodonga Health Hospital, and Councillor Anderson. Councillor Anderson, you'd like to speak to that report?
I would, thank you, Mr Mayor. I've got a little bit to say, sadly. This issue is actually important to every single one of us, unfortunately. Sadly, we all know the hospital has been struggling. Wait lists, bed blockages, ambulance waits for many years. We have 2 undersized, tired hospitals. Our regional population is 300,000 plus and is expected to increase by 1/3 by 2036. There is an immediate need to install modular wards to address the clinical bed shortages at the moment. Unfortunately, this request has gone on deaf ears. The Board of Medical Association clinicians are becoming increasingly desperate. The immediate and long-term health of our community is being ignored. Over 200 local doctors signed a letter to the federal government, which has also been ignored. This isn't really good enough. This is very unusual for 200 doctors to sign a letter to the Prime Minister or the federal government. We in our community hear constantly of patients who are spending years on wait lists and ED and wards that are overflowing, ambulance ramps for hours. We have the worst in the state of Victoria. Nothing to be proud of. This is actually a code blue. It's an emergency. Then there's the poor staff, doctors, nurses, paramedics working under such pressure. They turn up day after day, working for their patients and community. Sorry, I'm in this profession. Let's not forget them. This is why 17 councils came together to support all our communities. Our medical professionals, health workers, patients, are counting on us. Wow, many councils uniting together. It's unheard of, this many, 17. The state governments, Victoria, New South Wales, federal, are not listening. They won't even come to the table and have a meaningful conversation. So we're going to them next Wednesday in Melbourne on Parliament House steps, and we would like our community to come along with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. I take on board that this is a very emotional topic because, as you said, it does affect all of us, and I can't emphasise enough that this is the opportunity for our communities to come together and support their local councils in going to Melbourne and making a stance. And so I call on all communities of Towong, if you could possibly spare the time to come to Melbourne. Council's going to put a bus on, and the times for the buses will be advertised as well moving forward. But we actually need the community to get on board to help us. We've unfortunately looked at every avenue we've had and without any success. So now it's time to call on the community to help us out. So thank you very much for that report, Councillor Anderson. would you like to move a motion?
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move to recommend the report be noted.
And a seconder, councillor Wortman. We'll put that motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 16, that was close. Urgent business. Do we have any urgent business? Councillor Wortman.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that we have an item of urgent business allowed into the meeting.
Do I have a seconder?
We just need to describe what it's about.
If you can just give us a
Yep.
quick description on what it's about.
The emergency services levy.
Thank you. A seconder, councillor Tolsha. We'll put the motion. All those in favour to allow the item into urgent business? Carried. Floor's yours, councillor Wortman.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I think everyone has seen on the media about the introduction of this emergency services levy. I'd like council to move a resolution along the lines that we write to the Treasurer to express our concern at the impact of the increased levy will have on our ratepayers. The second point would be register our objection to local government collecting the new levy and our dismay at the lack of consultation by the government prior to the announced changes. 3, to strongly suggest that the State Revenue Office collect the levy, not local councils. 4, to seek a meeting with the Treasurer to present our concerns and seek an alternative outcome. And 5, that we support the Mansfield and Wodonga Council's resolution at State Council, at MAV State Council.
Thank you very much, councillor Wortman. Do I have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Anderson. Councillor Wortman, would you like to speak to that motion?
Oh, I think I've covered it in the points. Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor.
Sorry.
The impact on our residents is going to be huge for this one. So if we can possibly get the MAV to act on our behalf, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak to the motion? Councillor Tolsha.
Yeah, so I've had community members contact me and say how difficult it would be if it goes through, and I don't know whether we can control that. There's been a lot of extra costs go on to farmers rather than town people, with the percentage increase so different. And I just think I agree with everything you've said, Councillor Wortman, and I fully support it.
Thanks, Councillor Tolsha. Anyone else like to speak to the motion? I'd just like to add, I think it's going to be very challenging for local government to implement this into the existing systems they have to actually collect the revenue. I believe the consultation has been, well, there hasn't been any consultation, and that's got us to where we are today, and a lot of uncertainties about how this will work. And I think if it does go ahead, I think it would be a lot better if the State Revenue Office was collecting the funds, because I'm very aware that if it goes out in a rates notice, it will be seen as rates being collected, and it is nothing to do with local government. It is a state government initiative to collect these monies, and I understand that they may need the funds to implement all the emergency services that they are doing, but to me it's not a local government issue, and the state government should be collecting, and organising this themselves. So if there's nothing further, we'll put the motion. Nothing further. All those in favour? Carried. 17's committee minutes. 17.1's OH&S committee meeting minutes. January, is there any questions or clarification? We'll take that as read, those minutes. Any questions or clarification on the minutes? Would someone like to move a motion? Councillor Anderson.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation as presented.
Thanks, Councillor Anderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Pittman. Anything to add to
No,
that,
thank you.
Councillor Anderson? Councillor Pittman, anyone else?
No, just leading on from our comments earlier about, how things are progressing in a great way as far as OH&S is concerned within the council, and I look forward to seeing the future of that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? None against. Carried. 18 is council policies. 18.1 policies for review. Climate adaptation policy. Any questions or clarification on the...
I just have one on the title. Mitigation doesn't come into it at all, is it just adaptation? Sorry, it's a question.
Perhaps I can just respond to that
Yes,
through you,
please.
Mr Mayor. This is just being tabled now so that we can commence the review process.
right,
so
sorry.
that the title can be changed during the review process. If
Thank
you
you.
decide to.
So, if there's nothing further, would someone like to move a motion that the policy be tabled for review, or the policy tabled be for review be noted? Councillor Tolsha.
That the policy tabled for review be noted. I recommend it. How's that?
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Pittman. Anyone like to speak to the motion? We'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. 19's sealing of documents. Nil. 20's confidential. Nothing in confidential. 21 is a closure of the meeting. So thank you very much everyone for your attendance, and we'll call the meeting to a close. Thank you.